visualize. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Roots Tech 2026, and for this special session of Family Search in the Middle East and North Africa, Discovering and Preserving Your Heritage. And today we want to just give you an overview of Family Search. Who is Family Search? Who are we? And what are we doing specifically in the Middle East and North Africa? I'm going to be joined in a little while with two of my colleagues, Rula Shalhoub Akiki, who works directly in the Middle East region, helping us to working with archives to be able to get records and content that we can make available through Family Search, as well as my colleague Janice Frage, who is the product and experience manager, helping us to make sure that the website works really well so people can access their information. But Roots Tech is the world's largest conference for family history, and it is organized and sponsored by Family Search. And we at Family Search, our main goal is to help you connect your family across the generations, from the past to the present and into the future. And we do that through mostly our website and our web apps at FamilySearch.org. So thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to start with just a little presentation again, talking about the history of Family Search and why we do what we do. Why do we offer our website for free and all our services for free to everyone around the world? So who is Family Search and how long have we been around? So hopefully you'll be able to watch this video and be able to see it at the same time. So let's see. Oops. Okay. Yes. That's right. So, all right, we'll skip the video. I love live webinars and live sessions, so that's fine. So Family Search has been around for over 130 years. It started by a group of immigrants who had come from Europe to the United States, who were very interested to maintain their heritage and preserve the stories of their ancestors now that they were so far away. And you think about that 130 years ago, once you move to a new area, communication became very difficult. Letters took probably weeks to arrive to new places. And so they started with a collection of books. They called themselves the Utah Genealogical Society. And they started with a collection of books in a one-room place. And then over time, that collection grew and grew. Today, Family Search is a worldwide global organization. It's headquartered in Utah in the United States, which is where Roots Tech is taking place. And charter is to help all people to connect their families, past, present, and future, as I mentioned earlier. We have over 6.3 million unique visitors on FamilySearch.org every month. And there's a growing number of people who are really interested to develop their family trees and learn more about their ancestors. Not only do we help people who are searching out their ancestors, but we work very closely with archives all around the globe. We offer digitization services, bringing in cameras to archives to be able to take pictures of books, of records, and to help preserve those and get them to be online and make them accessible to everybody who is interested in getting access to those, both private individuals as well as public individuals. And this map shows some of our digitization projects around the world. And we have some that are growing in the Middle East as well. And this is so important, whether it's natural disasters, wars, records really are at risk everywhere around the globe. And it's becoming more and more important, certainly in the Middle East and North Africa region, for us to really expedite this preservation of records. As I mentioned, here we have some pictures of floods, war. Once these records are gone, it's like you're erasing a people, a history. These can be documents such as birth records, death records, marriage records, stories of people's journals, that are preserved in archives and museums and libraries and in people's homes. Our goal, again, is to make these digital records available to people worldwide, that you don't have to come to Salt Lake City in Utah to access this information, that you can go online, the FamilySearch.org, and go by your country and start to look and discover your ancestors. We have over or close to 17 billion searchable records online today. We also have close to 6 billion digital images where you can see a picture of the actual record. And that in itself is also so fascinating to be able to kind of see. It's like stepping back in time to see people having written information in years past. So on FamilySearch.org, you can go in and you can click on search, and you can search for records, you can search for catalogs of information. What genealogies are, those are trees that people have created that kind of, give you greater depth to some of the organized records that are out there. And all you have to do is go in, put in your name, a name of an individual, a family name, to and a location, a date, and you don't even have to have all of that. You can even just put in a name and just see what you get. I encourage you highly to go in and try it, and I'll show you an example here in a minute. So why do we do this? Why do we do all this effort to gather information? Because for us, it's really about family connection. Our commitment is to help people connect with their ancestors and be rooted in their beliefs. We believe families are central to our lives and that family relationships are intended to continue beyond this life. So we're always going to be connected to our ancestors. We're always going to be connected to their stories, what they did, what they believed, their lives really have impacted who we are today and where we have come from. Sometimes that's not great, and hopefully we can make it better for the next generation. And sometimes we can learn so much from their examples of strength, of resilience that helps us to go on to the next, to help us in our lives. Studies have also shown that family stories can really help with mental health. Knowing one's family stories creates meaning that goes beyond the individual to provide a sense of self through time and in relation to family. This expanded sense of self provides a larger context for understanding and dealing with people's life's experiences and challenges. This connection across generations appears to contribute to resilience at all stages of life. And we're seeing this especially as we do research here at FamilySearch, the impact of engaging young people in learning the stories of their parents, their grandparents, and those who came before them in a world that's full of anxiety and challenges. It can really help them stay grounded and navigate through difficult times. Let's talk a little bit about FamilySearch's technology. So we have a lot of AI and advanced technology that we're using, that our engineers are using, to be able to take written records and transition them into a digitized format so that they become accessible. So our engineers are working really hard with the latest and greatest technology to be able to do that. We have systems that can take handwritten text and transform it into typed text, which then, of course, makes it much more searchable. And we're doing this in Arabic and in Farsi and the other languages of the region. We also have an online platform so the computer is going to do some of this, but we want to make sure the records are accurate. So we still have human involvement, but instead of having people kind of in the olden days, people would go in and type in all this information. Now the computer creates the information, and then we can go in and review it to make sure that the AI, if you will, has done it correctly, and we can make corrections as well. So it's very much a combined effort between technology and human beings. Let's talk a little bit about FamilySearch in the Middle East. So one of the first record sets we have available today to us are these Ottoman nufus or census records from Palestine between the years of 1875 to 1912. This is over 2 million records. They are records of the census records to households where you've got names of individuals living in the household. You have the names of parents and grandparents in there, dates of birth, dates of death. And it's really been, for those who come from that region, it's been a huge source of information. I myself come from Palestine and Lebanon, and I have been able to find 3 or 4 generations back from my parents and add those to my family tree. I found some really interesting information. For example, my great grandfather, it had his occupation. It said he was a attar, which when you translate it, it means a perfumist. But when you take it into the context of the time, he was kind of more of a pharmacist or somebody who owned a drugstore and probably sold other goods as well. And I know we have kind of a tradition of not salesmen, but store owners and businessmen in our family. And makes me wonder, is that genetic in some ways? I'm sure it isn't, but certainly I found out some, households that their children passed away early, perhaps from disease in that time in that region. So these records are available online at FamilySearch.org. We also have, FamilySearch has the world's largest collection of family history or genealogy books in the world. And we have one of the largest collections of Middle Eastern books. We buy books everywhere. Certainly when we go to the Middle East, we buy books, and a lot of these books have family trees. You've got a couple of examples of ways people used to document their family. Some of us have a family tree in our own families, and it might look very different than this. In the olden days, if you will, or back, people used to put only the male names on the tree. Adding these online gives us the opportunity to also add the women in the family, and that is so important as well. But again, it's an opportunity to preserve these records, and we're working on taking these trees and these books, reconstituting them, making sure that we capture the tribal organization, the clan organization, the various ways that we in the Middle East kind of have defined our families and have created those connections and making those available online. We also know that oftentimes there were no records for some people, but that history is captured in the villages by the elders who have told the story. They've told these family stories from generation to generation. And FamilySearch also has many oral history projects happening all around the world, including in the Middle East. And my colleague Rilla will speak about that here in just a minute. As I mentioned earlier, we're working with record custodians. So I'm going to turn the time over to my colleague Rilla Shalhoub Akiki, who has been doing a tremendous work working with many organizations, and have her tell you about some of the stuff that we are doing, some of the work that we are doing in the region today. Welcome, Rilla.
So thank you, Natalie. Just a quick overview of what we're doing in the Levant area. FamilySearch now is building partnerships across the Levant with ministries, with universities, archives, and cultural institutions to support genealogical research and preservation and access to historical records. Through this collaboration, we work to digitize archival materials, document oral histories, and preserve church and court records, and to expand these genealogical resources for future generations. So in Lebanon, we partner with academic and cultural institution. For instance, with the University of the Holy Spirit University of Kaslik, we co-organized the conference through a Deep Roots Strong Branches, which brought together scholars, archivists, librarians, record custodians, religious leaders from different faith traditions who are the guardians of vital records to discuss family history, heritage preservation, and the importance of historical records. Additional collaborations include as well Phoenix Center for Lebanese Studies, where projects focus on the Ottoman records and oral oral genealogy. And we have also partnership with the Lebanese Heritage Foundation on indexing initiatives. We are currently in discussions to partner with the American University of Beirut and the Arab universities on projects including documenting oral histories, indexing Ottoman records, and organizing conferences and other related initiatives. In Jordan, we partner. FamilySearch works with the Princess Taghreed Institute on nationwide initiative to document tribal lineages and collect oral genealogies and digitize valuable historical records. Also, if we go to the next slide, we also partner. We go to Iraq, Kurdistan, where we have key partners like the Ministry of Culture, General Directorate of Education, University of Sulaymaniyah, and together we are working on initiatives that promote the preservation and accessibility to records with important genealogical value. We also partner with Centre Numérique des Manuscrits Orientaux, CNMO, focusing on digitization and indexing of church records, and also working on their digitizing and indexing their important historical photo collections. We also partner with Syriac Museum. It's a Martyrs Museum where we help digitize the records, and also we have partnership with the Syriac Museum, and where we contribute to preserve the Syriac heritage. We also have the Ottoman Initiative, where we partner with the Binghamton University in New York on the Ottoman records. Ottoman initiative to read, translate, and index these important historical records. Currently, as well, FamilySearch is in discussion to establish additional partnership in Syria and in other parts of Iraq, and we partner with different ministries, and with religious groups to help also digitize and preserve the records. Also, through these efforts, FamilySearch seeks to strengthen regional collaboration, safeguard historical heritage, and expand access to genealogical records across the Levant, benefiting both the local communities and the members of the diaspora abroad. So now I'm gonna turn time to our colleague Janice. We'll bring her back to stage with us. So she will be presenting on her work and how she's helping us with preserving and safeguarding those important records. Janice.
Okay, thank you. If we can go to the next slide. Awesome. All right. So thank you so much, Natalie and Varula. So FamilySearch, again, is pretty new in the Middle East and North Africa region, and we have done so much work, as was exhibited earlier. One of the things that that can sometimes be a challenge, but is very necessary, is that if we can go to the next slide, is we have to put policies in place that ensure that we are staying in accordance to local laws. Actually, that is okay. So we're gonna go a little bit next slide. There we go. Okay, so we put policies and processes in place, again, like I said, just to make sure that we adhere to local laws and we respect governing authorities, because we just want to make sure that we keep everybody safe. So these policies were initially put into place as a part of these efforts. And then if we go to the next slide, but what happens over time is we as an organization make sure that we revisit our policies and procedures to make sure that we're staying up to date and abreast of any any sort of policy changes in the countries that we're working with. So recently, we have been reassessing our data privacy and records access policies. And the good news from doing that is that we have been able to make some adjustments that have made the lives of some of our patrons a little bit easier. So just to explain what I mean, if you have ancestry from certain Middle Eastern countries and you've tried building a family tree or tried, using some of our other features on FamilySearch, you might have noticed some challenges. You might have noticed that your ancestors' names were listed as confidential. So again, we are doing whatever we can to make those changes and to not have as many names show up as confidential, but it is a process. So I wanted to, if we go to the next slide, I wanted to explain that as we have revisited and reassessed some of our policies, we've made some changes, and some of the countries that are on this list did have some like limitations in the past, but now they have full family search features. So I'm just going to go through this list. So Algeria, Bahrain, Egypt, Iraq, Jordan, Lebanon, Libya, Morocco, Palestine, Yemen, Qatar, Sudan, Tunisia, and the United Arab Emirates. And so what this means is now in the past, if you were inputting names from these countries and you saw some restrictions or confidential labels, this will no longer be the case. However, I do need to say that it will take a little bit of time for all of the names that were confidential to be made public or unconfidential, or I shouldn't say public, but unconfidential. So if we go to the next slide. So the question here is, what if my relatives or ancestors are from one of those countries, but I'm still seeing names marked as confidential? So like I said, the names are being reviewed, and it is a very intense process, and it takes a while just because we have hundreds of thousands of names from those countries. So once the specific names have been reviewed, then those records will be public. And then after the review, it is possible that the patrons will see duplicates, and it's the patron's responsibility to merge those duplicates. And if you have any questions as to how to do that, we have a robust help feature, and we have some chat features coming up as well. So you'll be able to obtain help if needed. And one thing that you can do if you are living in the US or Europe, one thing that you can do is you can work together as a family by using FamilySearch's Family Groups feature. These features are not available in the Middle East and North Africa region at this point. So this is, again, only for patrons that are living in the US or Europe or some other areas as well. So that is my portion. Thank you. And I'll turn the time over to Natalie. Natalie, I don't see you or hear you. Okay, well, we will open the chat for questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Okay, so far, doesn't look like we have any questions. Okay, well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.